With graphics like that, this guy must work out.
Afternoon, everyone. Coming to you from the shop. I am going to go over some specialty tools that I carry. I'm kind of putting together this video series to show you some that I use and what I've found is best to carry with me all the time. When I first started, I carried a ton of stuff that I never ever used. So this, over the years, is what I've kind of dwindled down to, and I found for handyman work, remodeling jobs, this is kind of a necessities toolkit that's good to have with you. So I'll just kind of start at the bottom and work my way up. I carry a couple staplers. I use this Bosch quite a bit. I like this little gun. It's a Stanley. Actually, it's a Stanley, not a Bosch. It's just the color of a Bosch. I like this stapler. Used it for quite a few years. This is just one I had before. That is a Bosch. I would kind of experiment with them. They make a ton of different staplers. I've tried a lot of them over the years. These two here seem to be the ones I've liked the best. Actually, that is a Bosch tick. And it's having a really hard time focusing. There we go. Maybe. But I like that stapler. Try to carry at least two of these. I use this one all the time, and I carry a backup just in case this one goes south, because you're going to need a stapler on a lot of things. Slap gun. I'm sure there's other names for this, but this is the one that I use. They make several manufacturers of this, but when you're doing tar paper or house wrap, this is a nice gun to have. Makes it really quick because it works just like a hammer. Every time you hit it, puts a staple in. So another stapler I'd recommend to have on the truck. And like I said, just one of these is what you need, but carry a backup, because there's nothing worse than getting there, starting on it, and your gun breaks and you don't have another one. So another thing I carry is this key door hole kit. And I'm sure somebody will correct me that that's not the proper name, but it's what I call it. I keep these bits in my bit box, and I carry this in my side box with all these specialty tools. It allows you to adjust for the different size door offsets. It is a really nice tool to have. Definitely helpful when you got a customer that just bought door panels and they don't have any holes cut in them. It's a kit you're going to need to have in order to drill those holes in. I carry a set of bits. I've had several DeWalt sets. I keep a bunch of loose bits in my bit box, but this is the set that stays with me in my tool pouch that I carry with me on most jobs. So get you a good set of drill bits, ones that'll go through, metal, wood, PVC. You're going to want some bits that'll be tough. Next over is a pair of nines. Keep a good pair of nines with me. They've got several different versions of these. They call them nines because they're 9-inch. Wire pliers. Electricians use these a lot. You'll find them invaluable, especially when you're cutting something real tough. They will cut through a lot. Large pair of channel locks. Keep those. They're handy for doing plumbing jobs. Chalk line. This is a DeWalt version. I've had several different chalk lines over the years. Good chalk line. You want to make sure you've got one of those with you. A couple different pair of trimming shears. These are actually more like siding trimmers. These are more like 10 snips, but I've used them for both, and vice versa. So you need a good pair of these, especially if you do any kind of metal work. You'll want a good pair of cutters to cut into that stuff. Pop rivet gun. This is a really nice one. I think this is an Arrow. Yep. So it's got a tilt head or swivel head on it. You can swivel it around to go in different directions. Comes with different size tips. Good for putting gutters on, or you'd be surprised the times that you'll need a pop rivet gun for something. I don't use it a whole lot, but I keep it with me just in case. Another pair of cutters. These are Stanley Maxes. You can use these for tin, sheet metal, So they kind of go along with these cutters here. More sheet metal, tin, aluminum, thin aluminum siding. So nice little selection of cutters for whatever you run into. I call this a keyhole saw, but I'm sure there's other names for it. It's basically a hoe saw. Use it a lot for drywall. This one has been used a ton. You can tell the tip is almost gone. It's about a knife point at this point. But you'll need this for cutting holes in drywall, making square holes to get to water valves, or trying to locate different things. Really nice little tool. I keep that in my box. Angle finder. This has an adjustment here. So if you are cutting something, you don't know the angle of it, you can use this, find the angle of, maybe the end of rafters, locate what the angle is, tighten this down, then you take it over to your board, set it on there, and you've got the exact angle you need for your cut. So good tool to have in your box, and it folds down kind of nice, so you can keep it, stack it along with everything else. A file. I would keep at least one file with you. This is just a cheap, I think it's a Harbor Freight file, but file for filing down burrs, stuff like that. You'll need a good file. This is a handy little tool for trim jobs. This is a cobalt version, but it's for hammering down nail heads. So if you put trim in, your gun's not set to where the nail heads go all the way in the wood. You put this right up against the nail head and smack the end of this with a hammer, which drives this punch in and pushes the nail down into the wood. So definite one thing you want to have if you're doing trim work is one of these. Let's see, I carry an assortment of putty knives. That one's more of a painter's knife. Different size putty knives, you never know what you're going to need to trim up. You can tell these have been used for caulk and all kinds of things over the years, but I would keep an assortment of putty knives with you. You can use this for small drywall patch jobs as well. So have you a couple different size putty knives. Wood chisel. I only carry one size, but it might be nice to have an assortment of wood chisels. I think this is like a 1-inch wood chisel. Concrete chisels. I've got two different versions. This is more of a long bar, and this is a bigger version, so more of a big flat wedge. I keep both of them in my truck, especially if you're trying to chim up concrete or trying to get to something and you're cutting a hole in a slab. This works really well for knocking off little burrs and stuff. You're not going to trim up an entire slab with it, but it's really nice for doing little trim stuff. Keep a couple of those with you. Framer's angle. This is kind of a nice one because it folds down. Because in my toolboxes I keep in my truck, I don't have room for a standard framer's angle. So this one folds into itself so you can put it in smaller spots. I keep a set of wrenches. This is just a small Craftsman version, 9/16 down to 1/4. You never know when you're going to need a wrench. I bought these just a couple years ago after getting tired of only having a 1/2 inch with me. I keep that in my truck. T-handle wrench for plumbing. You'll need one of these. Probably should have showed this in my plumbing video, but I keep this in my truck as a specialty tool. You will need that if you're doing something where you need to shut the water off to a customer's house. You'll need one of these T-handle wrenches. They carry it in the plumbing supply at just about any hardware store I've been to. Let's see, a pair of cutters. I don't keep these in my truck at all time, but it is nice to have them. I bought these for cutting a chain on a customer's swing. They had real thick 1/2 inch chain on their swings, or 3/8 chain on their swing set, and I use these to cut it. It'd be nice to have a set of those. I didn't buy those till recently. Demo pry bar. They make all kinds of these. This is actually a DeWalt version, and there's not a name on it anymore, but it's really good for demo work. Probably about 36 inches tall. You'll need something like that for demo along with the sledgehammer. Concrete nail gun. This is really nice, especially when you're doing framing up walls on a slab. You'll need this in order to drive your concrete anchors down into the slab. So you put your bullet right there, and then you shove your nail that'll have a cushion in it right down here in the end. Sorry about that. Right down here. And you push it down. You take a hammer, get it where you want it, take a hammer and smack this, and it basically shoots a 22 blank that drives it down into the wood. Now they make several versions. There's other ones that have just a palm down here. I used to have one that had a trigger, so you just put it where you want it, press the trigger, and it shot it just like a gun. So this is the one I'm using right now. It's a DeWalt, but you'll need one of these if you do any kind of anchoring into concrete. This is a lot easier for putting up walls than driving anchors in and putting nuts on. So this is a tool I bought here recently. I have used circular saw for years, but this is a knife for cutting formica. And I gotta remember how to open it. There we go. Kind of difficult to do with one hand. So it's a little knife that you use to cut formica. Put your level on it and score it, kind of like you do drywall. So you'll score it a couple times, and then you can break it in half just like drywall. So kind of nice little tool. Beats getting the circular saw out and possibly splintering your formica. So nice little tool to have. I keep a micro set of screwdriver tips, The screwdriver is actually in my bit box, but these are several really small bits. You never know when you've got something that you just can't get to with a standard screwdriver, and you may need a micro set. I have used this several times over the years. There's actually a bit missing, but for stuff like the handbars or towel racks, toilet paper racks in bathrooms, I don't remember if it's Delta or which one it is. They have a really small straight, and you'll need a bit this size in order to take that off. So need to have one of these kits. This is just a generic version from Home Depot, but you'll need a micro set of screwdrivers. Another DeWalt bar. They make black versions of this that aren't DeWalt, but a good flat pry bar. You'll need one of those. String line, if you do anything outside. You'll need some string. You don't actually have to have it on the spool. I do a lot of fence jobs, which is why I've got it on this setup. But you'll need some string. Running string lines if you're building, trying to square something up, you'll need some string. Rubber mallet. I keep this with me for flooring jobs. So I have a whole flooring kit that I carry. This is just an extra that I keep in my truck at all times. Post level. These are handy little tools for when you're setting posts for fence or gates. You can strap it. It's got a hook here that you strap around the post. It came with a rubber band, but of course after several years that rubber band's dry rotted and snaps. But you can use just a standard rubber band or just hold it up there, and you'll be able to tell by looking all around whether your post is level. So handy little tool. Alright, so I also keep two levels. I got a 4-foot and a 2-foot. I've also got a bullet level, but I keep that in my tool bag, and I've got a separate video for that. So have you a good 4-foot level and a 2-foot level. Doesn't really matter what manufacturer. You know, when you're starting out, I've had this since I started working. It's a Task Force. You can spend 3 times as much as I spent for this level. You just need a good level. I mean, you're really just paying for the ruggedness of the level. Bubble and water is a bubble and water no matter who makes it. So 2 different ones of these. I also carry a set of sockets. So this is just a Cobalt 40-piece set. And I open this wrong every time. So it comes with some deep well sockets. I think it's 9 to 19 millimeter and 7/8 down to 5/16. So just a decent set of sockets. It doesn't have to be this exact set, but you'll need you a set of metric and standard, some extensions, and this came with a ratchet. So some kind of set like that to keep in your truck, just in case. I also keep a keyhole bit set. This is a Lennox. It's a 13-piece. And you can tell this one's used because these were all nice and white when I first bought this kit. But you need a set of keyhole bits. There's no telling what you might run into cutting holes in countertops or walls. You'll need a good set of keyhole bits. Another tool I carry with me is a Bosch laser level. There's several manufacturers of this. Home Depot and Lowe's, at least in my area, carry a ton of different options for this. So it's nice when you're laying out tile or setting walls, anything you want to get precise. This little level makes it nice, and it's got a couple of different settings on it. I don't know that they still make this exact one, but it is handy as can be. Really nice for setting stuff and making sure it's level. I keep that in my truck. Couple other things, I keep an extension cord. This is a multi-plug. It's got 3 plugs on one end. Kind of nice if you're running a saw, jigsaw, and you don't want to keep unplugging and plugging, having you a 3-pronged extension cord. This one's only like 20, I think it may even be 15 feet, but some kind of extension cord. I used to carry a 50-footer in my truck. But here recently I've just went to that. I use my cordless a lot more often.
This guy needs to be a poster child for birth control. If you like that video, hit subscribe.